What's going on, everybody? TheKennyDubz here with another Megaman X dive character overview video. Today we're going to be taking a look at Dante Trigger X. Alright, here we're taking a look at Dante Trigger X. Here, he is part of the Devil May Cry collab, so this is a very limited time unit. So if you do not get him during this collab, you're probably not going to get him for multiple reasons. Anyway, let's take a quick look at the splash screen. I actually think this looks really cool. Now, personally, I don't actually care for Devil May Cry. I just thought it looked cool, so I was like, I'll pull for him. Sure, why not? Though I know a lot of people do care about Devil May Cry, so hopefully they are pleased with how the skills are implemented, because they would pick up on the references much better than I would as someone who doesn't play Devil May Cry. Anyway, first up, we have the X Stinger here. Charge full, inflicting 201%, about roughly 202% attack damage to the target along the path, and cause the target to burn, dealing 13.5% of the attack. Afterward, you can unleash 3 tracking energy blades that can penetrate terrain and deal damage to the target. So this is a 2-step attacking, which is quite nice. And cause the target to burn, dealing 13.5% attack damage again, and will not take any damage while skills during use. And if the Devil Trigger gauge is full when you use its skill, you will enter Devil Trigger status that cannot be removed. The power of the tracking energy blade will be enhanced when the Devil Trigger status. Devil Trigger gauge will increase over time. The Devil Trigger gauge is much like various other units, like X armors. You kind of have like a meter that builds up over time. Similar to like the Giga Crush of various X armors, like Second Armor X, Next Dive Armor X, Gaia Armor X, and so on and so forth. So, as far as the modifier chips go, we have power increases the damage rate of X Stinger's charge by 15%. So this is the first step of the charge, increase that by 15%, which is a lot better than we usually get. The second one is a power increase for the damage rate of the energy tracking layer, 15% again, much bigger than we usually get. Kind of sucks that we got triggers, we get both power increase for both of them, but there's not much you can do about that. Then finally, with Dynamic Destruction, inflicts soul on the target after it has been hit to reduce movement speed by 50%. That is a huge slow. One of the better ones in the game, and I don't know if it's I don't think it's the biggest one in the game. I feel like there's one that's slightly higher than this. I don't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, that's a pretty fat slow if you can connect with these skills. Next up, we have the X Rainstorm skill. This one actually looks pretty cool. I think this one is probably a really good reference to Devil May Cry, but again, I don't know because I don't play Devil May Cry. Jump up and strafe targets around you, continuously dealing 151% attack damage to all targets in range of taking damage. The Devil Trigger gauge is full when activating the skill, and the Devil Trigger status cannot be removed. And power of X Rainstorm will be enhanced when it is activated in Devil Trigger status. Devil Trigger status will Devil Trigger gauge will increase over time. This one is just kind of like your typical AoE move that we've been getting a lot. So you jump in the air, and you not only fire bullets in various directions, but you also have like waves of like explosions as well, dealing damage. So that's pretty neat. For the modifier chips here, we have Accelerated Shot, increase damage register of X Rainstorm by 20%, not bad. Paralyzing Shot, when the X Rainstorm hits a target, the target will become immobile, again, not bad there. And then finally, we have Showtime, so you'll not suffer negative status effects when using X Rainstorm, so this will make it so that you have true showtime on this skill here, and this just this makes you immobile. This is what you're gonna have most of the time anyway, most likely if you have them at 4-star or rather at 5-star minimum. Aside from that, for the passive skills, we have Half Demon, reduce damage taken by 20%, which is pretty nice. Damage mitigation isn't as good as I'd like it to be anymore, but like, I mean, it's better than having no mitigation, I guess. No, with the way how hard some things hit, it feels like you have no mitigation. After launching X Rainstorm, restores 24% of the attack's HP. This effect can only be triggered with a 3-second cooldown. It's actually really nice for PvE content, though PvE content doesn't matter all that much because PvE content is pretty free. However, this does give you a lot more longevity in PvE content, specifically in things like Total Power Battle, where you can use this in the lightning battle, I think it is. It's the one where your time you have to defeat waves of enemies. Gives you a lot more longevity during that, because you have a wave clearing move as well, and it's tied to your wave clearing move. So there's that. Next up, we have the Devil Form. When attack Devil Trigger gauge is increased, damage inflicted during Devil Trigger status increased by 20%, damage received reduced by 15%. So inherently, you have 35% damage mit, which is very nice. But again, damage mitigation isn't as good as I'd like it to be anymore. When you use a skill in Devil Trigger status, it releases 4 additional tracking Phantom Swords. They'll annoy terrain and deal 100% attack damage to the target. Strike can only trigger 1 time, 2 on cooldown. I like this one. Increases your damage, damage on the damage mitigation. Not bad. And it gives you additional effects on your Devil Trigger status. Next up, we have the All-Out Barrage. 6 additional rounds of tracking missiles that ignore terrain and obstacles are launched when using X range, so I'm dealing 45% attack damage to the target. I'm going to trigger once more after 1 second cooldown. And when hit a target and continuous damage, that increases damage by 20%. So that's huge. You have even more damage amplification, which is great. And if they're in damage over time status, or dot, which you get from your skills, not that one. You get from your skill 1 from both steps of your skill 1 from the stinger, and the I don't know if the second one has a name here, the energy blaze afterwards. So that's very, very nice there. That's helpful. As with speed reload, when you hit a target with a weapon, reduce the prep time for X rainstorm by 2 seconds. That's very, very nice. Because that just allows you to have a shorter cooldown for X rainstorm. I think X rainstorm's cooldown is like 6 seconds or so. I don't actually remember what it is off the top of my head. It's been a while since I used Devil Trigger X. As you can see, I don't really use them all that much because he's at 1 star. But in acceleration status, it cannot be removed after using X. Sting increase move to at 39%. And when equip a Buster and a melee weapon at the same time, increase them to 30%. So this is already huge right here. This is a loaded passive. Because you have damage amplification, speed control, and you have cooldown reduction all in this. So inherently with Devil Trigger X, assuming you have a Buster and melee weapon equipped, which funnily enough is one of the easiest combos to work around, 30% there, and then if you're in your Devil Trigger form, you have 20% extra damage amp as well. So about 50% damage amp if you're in Devil Trigger form, which is very, very nice. And that's not including the card setup that we're going to talk about later, which is very, very nice as well. And then your speed. So you have a dash, your X Stinger, like your little dash, has a speed buff attack to it, which is again very, very nice. You got 39% speed buff there, and I think that's quite high. Off of a single speed buff right there, so it allows you to disengage easier, and again makes Devil Trigger X pretty useful for things like total power battle. So with this, you can use him a bit more in the I don't remember what the race mode is called. I don't remember all of them. I know the names, but I can't remember which one is assigned to what. But you can use them for that as well. And then we have unlimited continuous attack, which this name's kind of funny, but when you use X Rainstorm, reduce the prep time for X Stinger by 2 seconds. This effect can only be triggered once more again after a 2-second cooldown, which is quite nice. So you have even more cooldown reduction in your kit. Gain enhanced healing status after defeating a target, which increases the healing effect by 100%. So then now instead of the 24%, wait, where is it? Is it Devil Form? Oh no, maybe it's just inherently in this. No, it's not, right? I don't remember what passive it's in. Oh, it's in this one. So instead of 24%, you get 48% healing, which is potentially quite a lot. This effect cannot be triggered when the target is knocked down by a debuff that causes continuous damage. So basically, if when they say knocked down, they mean when you defeat a target. I don't know why they say knocked down. And if you defeat a target with continuous damage status, so if they die from burn or poison or what have you, you won't get the buff off that. You have to like actually knock them out with one of your attacking skills. And gain an enhanced state that cannot be removed when activating X Rainstorm, reducing damage taken by 20%. Again, more mitigation. We're actually getting to pretty high levels of inherent mitigation, which is very, very nice. And since this one cannot be removed, this one's actually really good because this one means it's resistant to Grudge Axe, which is still, one of the better weapons in the game, just because nothing can actually take Grudge Axe's place, because nothing does what Grudge Axe does. So that's it there. Unfortunately, Dante Trigger X doesn't have any DNA. I say unfortunately because, as many of you know, EOS was announced for the Taiwan version. So I don't think Dante Trigger X will ever get DNA unless a miracle happens and Nebula Joy can keep the game going. But even then, we have the offline version of X Dive happening. So I'm not too sure if it would keep going, how many people would even still play this version of X Dive and just play the free version instead. But they're still active making content that would give people motivation to play. But that's it for Dante Trigger X's kit. Let's take a look at some cards that will work well with him. or some weapons. All right, I know I just said cards, but I meant to say weapons, because we do weapons first. Yeah, boy. Anyway, he inherently likes Buster Melee, so that's actually already fantastic, because as many of you know, Buster Melee is just kind of like the go-to thing that I would suggest for players, because it's so easy to build. And due to that, we got the Sniper Buster. You know, we have the Explosive Bolt. Sniper Buster is just your generic sniper style buster here, which you can use. It's also free to play friendly, which is why I always suggest this one. And once you get to research level 8, I believe, you can make this. Yep, research level 8. I didn't mean to do that, but yeah, you can make that research level 8. Explosive Bolt, I don't really like the way this weapon looks, but it is fantastic sniper style buster here that you can make use of. It has insane range, does pretty high damage, and high damage potential as well. Now, I always recommend Player Killer for the hidden skill for this, because it's just a lot easier to use. You just exist with Player Killer on your weapon, and, well, that's it. That's what you gotta do. Penetration does have higher damage potential, output, but the problem with that is you have to kind of like line up your shots and be able to bank them in order to get full value out of it. So if you're not in an area that will allow you to penetrate successfully and get the ricochets, or like if you can't set it up properly, Player Killer is just better, but in a PvP setting. If you're in PvE, well, then you're not using Player Killer, using penetration, but you're also probably not using this weapon either if you're in a PvE scenario, most of the time. Following that, we have the Hawk Precision Buster. This is not a sniper style buster. I like the way the weapon looks. I don't really like it in practice. The way this weapon works is if you hit a target in mid to long range, you get this quick grip status, and this quick grip status allows you to pierce terrain, which is good. But the problem is you have to hit in mid to long range anyway in order to trigger this quick grip status, so that you can pierce terrain with your sniper attack. So that's why I don't really like this weapon all that much, but I think it would be broken if you could just pierce terrain off rip with it. But I do always suggest it as an option that people can use. This is a limited time weapon though, so you might not have this. Following that, the Ultimate Blast. Now this is a fantastic buster type weapon. The problem is this comes at a really bad time for a lot of players, because a lot of players went hard to get Ultimate Blast, or they just went hard to get ZXAL, and now Dante Trigger X is coming right after, which didn't happen in the Taiwan version. We had a little bit of leeway, which is unfortunate. But this is a fantastic weapon to use. This weapon does a lot of damage. It can pierce terrain. It has a laser like Decide's Will. Also, like Decide's Will, it doesn't matter what's happening. It will auto lock on. Complete penetration, pierces terrain. And then you have your hidden skills as well. It's just a very good weapon in general. Has a pretty good rate of fire. If you're using a buster type weapon, this is probably one of your go-tos as well here, as this is really good. The downside with this one versus a sniper style buster, this has a lot less range. That's really it. As you can see, this has 26 to the 14, so this is a mid-range weapon. You can hit long range with it, but like it's a lot harder to like kind of manipulate that. Moving on to the melee weapons here. Nightmare. Nightmare just a good weapon. Use Nightmare to get an attack boost, swing it around, or hit something, you get an attack boost. That's really it with Nightmare here. Ancient Relic's a good utility weapon here that you can use. For the utility here, you have access to Burn, which is actually very good for Dante Trigger X, realistically here. But for the utility here, you have the Speed Rune, which you don't really need unless you actually want to become Speed and go way too fast for anyone. You can use a Speed Rune here. Have the Protect Rune, which gives you a shield when it runs out of energy. You gain the speed when it runs out of energy as well, but you only get one of these because it's a hidden skill. This gives you a shield that Dante Trigger X is actually lacking, but he doesn't want to be too close as it is anyway most of the time, so you don't necessarily... you might not need a speed, the Protect Rune, if you can time your iframes correctly. So there is that. But he does not have a shield, which is probably one of his... I guess you could say that's one of his downsides, yeah. On that, Grudge Axe. Grudge Axe, I say this all the time, not a weapon I like all that much, but I cannot deny how useful it is in the grand scheme of things. Grudge Axe has a place that cannot be taken away from it because it does something that another weapon can do. It actively just takes buffs from the opposition. No other weapon does that. So Grudge Axe will automatically have an advantage over every other weapon in the game. It is a melee weapon as well, so that's actually quite nice. It also has access to Spirit Possession, which out of control status, and then it has Wretched Curse, which makes it so that if it hits a target, oh, not if it's a target, it makes the chances of these happening 60% instead of 30%. That doesn't sound all that great. Until you remember how dash slashing works and how often you're going to be hitting in order to trigger that 60% chance. So, really, really good weapon. Following that, we have the Red Lotus Saber. Red Lotus Saber is, again, another fantastic weapon here. You have Burn, which is good for Dante Trigger X. You have Defense Crush, which increases the damage you do. You have Speed Boost here, so you're probably going to be going way too fast with Dante Trigger X. Red Lotus Salvo, additional damage here. And then you have some hidden skills to do with whatever you're doing with here. Boss Kill is only going to be useful, again, like in versus raids. And then Continuous Damage Special Attack to be good for just, generic things they can use with Dante Trigger X. Do want to mention Singularity Slasher as well. It is a melee weapon. This is like the side grade to Grudge Axe, and the reason I say it's a side grade is because it fulfills a similar role, but instead of dispelling the buffs, instead of taking the buffs and giving them to you, it dispels a buff. But why dispel the buffs when you can just take your opponent's buffs and use them? However, I do have to mention that this only applies to the buffs that can be removed. So if a buff that can be removed, you can dispel it with Singularity Slasher, or you can take it with Grudge Axe. The trade-off for this is a guaranteed removal of a buff or two, depending on the hidden skill, as opposed to Grudge Axe's RNG chance. But being able to take the buff away from your opponent and give it to yourself is just much better. Other than that, a few other weapons you might want to use. Lightbender. Dante Trigger X already has so much synergy with being Buster melee weapon alongside the support that comes inherently with that, so you're probably going to use that. But if you want to use Lightbender, Lightbender is another option you can use. Lightbender can get rid of buffs. It has blades, so deals additional damage, and yeah, that's it. I don't know what I was going to say about the blades. The additional damage of pierce terrain. Oh, pierce terrain. Terrain piercing. That's what I was going to say about it. Yeah, that's something you can do. Gator Fangs is okay as well. This is more a close range weapon. I mean, both sprayers are pretty close range, but so are melee weapons. So the downside with this is you don't get the 30% damage buff. With the Rending Fang, Predator, Rapid Reload, these are all the ones I'm going to use Gator Fangs. And it also has a Fat Slow. I don't know how potent the Chilled is on this. It doesn't tell me. Following that, we have the Sides Will at home. Cannon God. Cannon God is what you use if you don't have the Sides Will. Pierces terrain. That's basically what you use to Cannon God, because it pierces terrain. Could make it a Starbreak Cannon as well. Starbreak Cannon pierces terrain, and it can get rid of buffs. It also has a bit more damage in some of its other passives as well. Here's where it dispels 2 buffs, pierces terrain, all that good stuff. Finally, the Sides Will. The Sides Will is a fantastic weapon. It is a very, very long range weapon. As you can see, it's 26 range, same as the Explosive Bolt, so very, very long range there. Doesn't matter if auto aim's turned off or State of Confusion, it will auto aim at the opposition. Has quite a bit of damage, but it's the main draw of it is it helps you zone. So that is something there. And I do want to point out the Acidic Machine Gun. Acidic Machine Gun will also help you trigger the dot damage, the passive that Dante Trigger X has. But to be honest, I think you just go with melee, Buster melee for this setup. All right, so here we're talking about cards, and as usual, we're going to be talking about Buster melee cards. However, because Devil May Cry cards will come out, there are a few of them I think that might work well with Dante Trigger X. Okay, here's one. I was trying to figure out which card it was. The Dante card is actually quite useful because this triggers off of red, so you can actually use 2 of these. Stack onto each other. You get the double amplification or Buster melee. So then you get 18% damage amp alongside whatever else you have in your kit and in your inherent DNA. You also have combo effect 1. You have a chance to gain a damage enhancement stacked up to 3 times. And yeah, that's it. You don't get to stack the combo effect 1 and combo effect 2. And I'm not even sure how much this is at max level because I don't have a max level copy of the card. If for some reason you want some more durability, you can go with the Nero card. Same thing as the Dante card, but this has damage mitigation instead of damage amplification. It has a combo effect as well. And then we have the Demon King Urizen card. All these come from the Devil May Cry collab, by the way. Though this card in particular, we're going to get this differently than we did in the Taiwan version. You're going to get this from the retweet campaign. I don't know if they're going to have another way to get these cards in game, but in the Taiwan version, you have to pull the unit in order to get it. So, player killer here, so good for PvP. And absolute evil, the card gets a player, increase damage you by 5%, and when you attack by a player, increase damage you take, decrease damage you take by 5%. So very similar to Akuma's Way of the Fist. And now, speaking of Akuma's way, or Master of the Fist, the Akuma card, as this stacks with any other player killer, player sentinel here, you can stack the Akuma card with itself as well. Alongside that, we have the M Bison card. Bison card's player killer 2, another card that's player killer 2. Though these two cards are from the Street Fighter collab, so if you don't have them, obviously you can't use them. Two other cards have the player killer as well that you can get fairly consistently just from the token shop, or the Life Aura card, and and the Sigma X4 second form card. You can just get these from the shop at any time you want, provided you have the token to do so. Not too hard to get those, they're not limited anyway. And here we're just gonna come to talk about the Elite Hunters, because Elite Hunters are very, very good. Now, Dante Trigger X already has 30% damage amplification in its kit for using a Buster Melee. So if you slap 2 Elite Hunters on, all of a sudden he has 48% damage amplification just existing, and then that's before the 20% he gets from being in the Devil Trigger mode as well, and whatever other, like, you know, inherited DNA you have onto him. So you drop 2 of these together, you get these from your guild, so that's quite good there. You see I have many of them here. You see 10% here, 8% here for damage amplification and damage mitigation, so it'll be good there. And then for the red card, Twin Heroes is an option. Again, I'll have a picture of that here because I don't have that on this account. That's a limited card though, so not a lot of players have that. However, an easier card to get, a more free-to-play friendly version, as the X's Memories. Now, Twin Heroes is for melee as opposed to Buster, but you have Buster amplification on this. You can get this for free from the Deep Recorder. There's a chance to get it each week. That's why I have so many of them. And here we have another option, the X and Zero card, though I think this card is pretty limited as well. I can't really remember where I got this. I might have got this from a monthly activity reward as well, much like the Twin Heroes card. I know you could have bought the Twin Heroes card, you got it from the monthly reward, but I think I got this one from a monthly reward. I'm not remember how, I can't remember how I got it in here. Another option for Buster Melee is a guild development card, which you can again get from your guild if your RNG is a little bit poor. Downside with this one is you don't get the adaptability with it, but you do get the amplification, and you don't get the 18%. You would only get 14%, I believe, with this is the number. Yeah, 8, 6, 14. Yeah, not that much of a damage drop off, but you don't get the mitigation as well. So that is something. But you can stack them alongside one another. See, like green, yellow there. All right, that's going to be it for Dante Trigger X. Now the question some of you may ask me, so should you pull for him? If you like him, go for it. This is a pretty solid unit. I don't think you'll be missing out too much if you don't pull for him, though. Like I said, I only pulled for him because I thought he looked cool. He turns out to be a pretty good unit. He's pretty decent in PvP. And he's pretty nice in PvE as well, though again, being nice in PvE doesn't really mean much for anything these days. But he is good specifically in PvE for things like Total Power Battle. So if you want to bolster your roster for that, you can get him for that, because he's good in two of the 3 game modes at least. You can probably use him versus bosses as well, because he has quite a high damage output. But depending on who else you have in your roster, you might need him for the lightning battle or the suppression battle. Oh, suppression battle, that's what it is. I might need him for one of those. But yeah, anyway, that's gonna be it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe my channel to enjoy the content. I'd like to give a quick shout out to my YouTube channel members and my patrons. Thank you for supporting me. Can you do what I do? If I can support me, a YouTube channel member or as a patron, you can find the information down below in the video description. And I'll catch you guys next time. Later.